Welcome back to Ghana Connect, right here on Joy 99.7 FM. And so tonight, we are putting the spotlight on some of the programs and policies that the John Dramani Mahama government has launched in the last few days that is expected to equip young people and give them skills that will lead them in their own drives to create jobs for themselves and for others. National Coders Program, for instance, a Jumawura program, National Apprenticeship Program. What exactly is in it for young people? And so we have a great panel to come around and ask questions of Osman Ayariga. He's CEO of the National Youth Authority. He has some answers on all these programs. So Emmeline Date is a business consultant and career coach connecting with us on Zoom. Emmeline, it's good to have you connect with us. If you can unmute.
Thank you for... Yes, can you hear me?
Great, I can hear you.
Thank you for having me.
Josiah Ayesen is co-founder of iSpace Foundation. Josiah, it's good to have you connect with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi, Emmeline.
Gifty.
Hello, Josiah.
Great. Gifty Adoboa is an entrepreneur. She sells human wigs. And Gifty, it's good to have you connect with us. And then Yao Edu Jemfi is chairman of Ghana Hubs Network. Yao, it's good to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to speak to Ghanaians about these issues that we are about to discuss.
Great. So let me start in studio with Osman Ayariga of the National Youth Authority. And Osman, Ghanaians have seen a lot of some of these programs in the past. And we know how they become the center for political footballing, for financial malfeasance and all that. How different are all these things that John Mahama is doing? Is it really in fulfillment of a social contract, as he puts it?
Very much. Good evening to you. Good evening to your cherished listeners, and for those that will be watching live on the various social media handles. Good evening to you all. Of course, to the Ghanaian youth out there, good evening to you. And we want to also say a big thank you to the millions of youth who went out in their numbers to assure John Dramani Mahama of the fact that they believed in his promises and his policies. I would also want to use your platform to thank the thousands of youth who followed on various social media handles and those who were also present in Tamale on Wednesday, the 30th of April, to help His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to launch the National Apprenticeship Program. And to you, of course, Joy FM and other media outlets who also made it a point to sell the vision and to make sure that many people across the globe were able to follow and hear about the good works of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. You agree with me that leading into the 2024 general elections, the issue of youth unemployment was very pivotal and teetering to the Ghanaian populace. And it was also a great concern to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama that how do you curb issues of youth unemployment? How do you curb issues of graduate unemployment? How do you curb issues of youth underemployment also? And key amongst them was to look at how we could push as many young people into the private sector, so that we don't have so many people depending on the public sector. So how then do we push as many people as we can into the private sector? Because if you really want to grow an economy, the right place to push your issues of unemployment is to develop the private sector, or make the economy very conducive, give the economy a very conducive environment for private businesses to thrive, so that they could also employ as many young people as possible. Also make the economic environment conducive for many young people to be able to start up their own businesses and also expand. So at the back of that knowledge and that background then brought us into so many of these programs. Now, one, we have a group or a sect of young people who are neither in employment nor education nor training, and it's called NEET. So they are not in employment, they are not in education, they are not in training. For a category like that, it's very difficult for you to find any form of employment, because you are not educated, you are not in employment, and you don't have any training or skill whatsoever. So that is the first place you need to look out for, because they are most vulnerable so far as the unemployment bracket is concerned. And at that age or stage, the best way you can educate them is to give them some training or some skills acquisition, so that they will be able to expand and also be able to fend for themselves. So that was what brought up the plan of the National Apprenticeship Program. And as part of actually joining the National Apprenticeship Program, we had so many stakeholder engagements to know the issues confronting current apprenticeship programs, which are usually private and meager. So, like, I grew up in a home with so many cousins or sisters trying to learn one trade or the other, one apprenticeship program or the other. So you would realize that aside from they going out to learn the apprenticeships or the apprenticeship programs, there are some difficulties that they are met with. One has to do with funding. Two has to do with their even willingness to complete the programs, and three has to do with when they pass out, what is the way out for them. So in that whole value chain, we looked at the pros and the cons, the difficulties, and how we could curb all those problems. So far as the entry point is concerned, the government says that, okay, if we really want to support many young people to go into apprenticeship, which would help the country to have the next industrial takeoff, because if we keep talking about industrialization, and you do not have the skilled manpower, no matter how you industrialize your nation, you will not be able to feed those industries. Labor will be imported into your country. And believe you me, as it stands now, we've not yet even industrialized. There hasn't been that industrial revolution, but we are already importing labor. If you follow what happens on the job market, we're talking about masons, we're talking about carpenters, we're talking about tilers, we are talking about
from those people from Togo and
yes. So you realize that even we haven't even arrived so far as industrialization is concerned, and we are already importing labor. So we have the labor in terms of population, but what we do not have is that skilled labor, and that is the difficulty, and that is why we are where we are. So His Excellency thought that for us to even move into or have the conversation about industrialization, we need to make sure that the labor, in terms of the numbers we have, the youthful population we have, we need to enable them to acquire those basic skills. How do we apply those basic, and which group or which brackets are we looking at applying those or helping them to acquire those basic skills? And that has to do with the youth gap. And that was what actually necessitated the president decoupling the Ministry of Youth from Sport, because we needed a Ministry of Youth that will be dedicated into the development and empowerment of the youth. And that was a promise made and a promise kept. And His Excellency was able to make that. He was able to keep his promise by making sure he has the Ministry of Youth Development. Now, the Ministry of Youth Development is to look at the total development of the youth. And that's why the National Youth Authority also comes in, which is also in charge of developing the talent, the dynamic strength of the youth, and helping them to acquire skills. And that is why we are implementing a national apprenticeship program.
Okay.
Now, the beginning of the program. Now, let me take you through how one can take advantage of the program and how it's actually going to be kept. So we have the entry point of the program, and you have the exit, and in between the entry and the exit, you have the entire process. So the entry point is for you to apply. Either you apply online, or you download the form online, or you go to any MMDA or Municipal Metropolitan District Assembly and you pick the physical form. When you pick the form, you're supposed to submit the form latest in 2 weeks' time after you pick the form. Now, in that form, you have the various disciplines or the various models which you can pick from, ranging from agriculture to manufacturing to content creation to photography to animation. You see, we are not just looking at the old traditional skills such as carpentry. Yes, we're not looking at just carpentry, masonry, tiling. We're also looking at modern contemporary skills that people are acquiring and actually using it to make a lot of money. They're actually earning a lot of money. And aside from you even learning the hard skills, we also have some soft skills that is needed or necessary for you to learn, which is imperative for you to learn. Example, if you're learning how to do dressmaking or maybe bakery or catering, aside from you learning how to stitch and how to design a nice dress, you also need to learn how to market that dress of yours on social media. You also need to learn how to take good photography of that design of yours to be able to market it. Otherwise, you can put together all the lovely designs, but your inability to market it with the soft skills such as social media will make it very difficult for you to be able to penetrate into the market. Aside from that, we're able to teach you basic computer skills for you to be able to have an Excel sheet to be able to put your balances and your books, your finances together. So it's not just we teaching you the hard skills as to how to drive the nail into the wood or how to stitch the dress, but there's also the soft skills. So aside from government paying for you to go and learn, and mind you, it's not like an institution or a school that government is setting up. Government is not building any schools. So we already have master craftsmen who are already out there and they're already teaching apprentices. So we are now going to do what we are going to merge the two. We're going to find the master craftsmen and find the apprentices who are interested in various disciplines, of which we have the master craftsmen. Then we hand over the apprentices to you, the master craftsmen. By what time would have already gone through the standardization, the curriculum acceptance, the clarification through TVET and CTVET. So the master craftsmen who are going to provide the training to the apprentices, they'll be certified by the government agency which is mandated to do so, which is CTVET and TVET. So before we hand over Mr. A to a master craftsman, that master craftsman himself would have gone through some certification, curriculum training, curriculum acceptance, because at the end of the day, government will be handing over certificates to you, the apprentice who is being graduating or churned out. So there's that standardization. Now, between the time you would start the program to the time you end, government also sees as part of the stakeholder engagement, realize that issues of financing has become also very difficult, and that is why so many young people are not venturing into the apprenticeship programs. So government should be able to give you some stipends. And mind you, when we talk about stipends, it's not going to be so much money that it is even more lucrative for you to be an apprentice than for you to to graduate from an apprentice. Otherwise, you may end up seeing people becoming career apprentices. So it's just some stipend to enable you commute from your workplace to your home, or some stipend to encourage more people to try or go into the apprenticeship program. Now, the tools in which you will use to learn, because
but I want you to hold it there for me, because there's a lot of information that I want us to process briefly, and I want to bring in Emmeline, because it's a business consultant and a career coach. I wonder what you think of this, and if you have any questions. And we're going to give Osman a A4 sheet so that he goes all these questions down, because we want you to. And Emmeline, Josiah, Gifty, Yao, let's make this interactive. If you have questions, things that you want to clarify from this, please do. Emmeline, let me start from you.
I wonder why you started with me first, but it's okay. Osman, thank you so much for giving us that very elaborate insights as to what the YEA is engaged in. And I'm particularly excited about this, but I want to find out how
NYA, not YEA.
Sorry, the National Youth Authority, forgive me. I want to find out how the National Youth Authority is leveraging on partnering with the local ecosystem players, such as the hubs, for example. I particularly work with the hubs. I mean, I'm a corporate trainer, and as we upskill young people. And I'm wondering how we are partnering with these hubs that exist. And secondly, I'm sure Yao and Josiah will delve into that deeper with you. But I want to understand something. So we already have the educational institutions that are already equipped with some of these courses, to train young people. Are we also factoring them into the, the entire plan, roadmap, where from upskilling to employability, okay, are we involving the tertiary institutions? And then are we also ensuring that the curriculum that is being, spearheaded via this Ejumara, project, we are ensuring that there is an alignment between those in the formal educational sector to these ones, in the vocational? How are we marrying the two? Thank you.
And because you mentioned hubs, Yaudu JFE is chairman of Ghana Hubs Network. I wonder if he also has some input questions that he thinks Osman should take it up.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Osman. You've done a great job. You've outlined some of the highlights of the programs that the NY has rolled out, and also calling on us for support. I think that it's important that we look at the history, the history of youth development policies. We've had the 2010 youth development policy. Very much so, the NYA was the implementing agency. We've had that improved to the 2022 to 2032 youth policy, national youth policy. But we know that sometimes the alignment of such programs becomes a challenge. So I would like to know how aligned are these new programs that are coming out. They're not entirely new. I mean, if you look at the trajectory of youth development programs in Ghana, we've had the business support and entrepreneurship support from if you're talking about even NYA, you talk about the technical programs that have also come out, support to apprentices to be able to work with masters, and after that being able to be on their own. But the challenge has always been around implementation, around a plan that helps with that outlines partnerships with private sector, partnerships with academia, and partnerships with CSOs and even the media in enhancing the process of implementation. So if you've looked at over the years, you see that even though there's been some consistency in the implementation of the programs, there has been challenges in tracking beneficiaries and the impact, adequacy of funding, technical support, lack of technical support, and access to markets, which is very important. Over the years in the technical sector, we've seen that there have been competency-based programs that have been introduced. There have been programs around even building and enhancing infrastructure across the technical schools across the country. And so one would expect that will contribute and impact the sector and ensure that a lot more entrepreneurial-minded technical people or artisans or technical artisans come out of these institutions and start impacting the economy. But that has not been the case because of the challenges that we've had in the consistency of implementing programs. And also a very important aspect of it is having a governance structure, very important, emanating from the 2010 and now the improved 2022-2032 youth development policy that highlights avenues for monitoring.
I think I may have lost Yaudi
for evaluation and for learning programs, and we are not able to integrate them properly into the planning process, into the review process, and overall ensuring that there's implementation efficiency. So I think as we delve along, we'll talk about how such new programs that have been reviewed and other programs that are new, such as what Osman is talking about. We can work together as stakeholder players and areas where we can help improve efficiency, especially around building entrepreneurial mindset of these technical people, of these artisans to be trained, so that when they come out, it's not just about placing them in industry. It's also about getting them to also start their businesses, because in the construction industry, in the catering and other service industries across the country, there are a lot of opportunities. Just that sometimes the level of quality and precision that comes out from these trainings and these trainees sometimes leaves a lot to be desired. So
yes, I mean the concerns about quality is such a big one, and I like that you raised it, Yaudi Jemfi. Please hold it there for me, Gifty, because you are into business directly. I wonder what you feel about some of these things. I wonder if you've signed up for any of them, and what exactly it is your expectation is of this, Gifty.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share my opinion on this interesting topic. Actually, when the first speaker, unfortunately, I didn't catch the name, was talking, he made mention of the fact that there will be stipends, and it's not going to be so much that people would have to depend on to do what they would have to do, but then something to be able to help them commute to and from work. As someone who has been, should I say, a young entrepreneur, a young person who is trying to set up business or already running one as a young person, I sort of most often encounter some challenges. And so it has to do with capital. Most of the time, it has to do with the capital to be able to run the business effectively. Now, we have government trying to put up structures so that young people will be equipped with skills so that we'll be able to set up small businesses. Already in Ghana, we have much of the youth who are unemployed, some educated, some uneducated, and some people with the skills, but without the money to be able to set themselves up. So to hear my colleague here on the panel saying that they will be given some stipends, but then not so much that it will be able to set them up, but to help them commute to where they will be learning their skills and all of that. I feel that it's rather going to be like sort of adding more fuel to an already burning fire, because one, we have unemployed youth, thousands of them. We have some people with the skills already, but do not have the means to be able to set up their own businesses. And again, we're going to train more with skills. And at the end of the day, if we don't have the money to set up the businesses, then what becomes the essence of giving them the skills in the first place? So that is my concern, because I'm already struggling or having the challenge of, having the capital. And again, operating online, the cost of internet data and all of that. I already encounter these challenges, and I feel I am not alone in this. There are lots more out there who are like me. So I am more interested, in how after getting the skills, individuals or the youth will be able to, set up the business or keep in motion the skills that they've been equipped with. Yeah, so if you ask me, that's a little I have to share with you.
Right, interesting. Gifty, I'll come back to you, and I'm going to come to Osman pretty shortly. But first, let me hear from Josiah Aisen, and we've also been connecting with Francisca Foriwa Arthur, an entrepreneur. She's in food and beverages. I'll come to her when I come back to Osman. But let me hear from Josiah, and then I'll come to Osman. Josiah.
Yeah, once again, thank you for the opportunity, and Osman for the presentation. I think for me, one of the things that I want to kind of touch on is the fact that we shouldn't try to entrepreneur our way out of this unemployment situation that we're in, where we think we can push everybody into giving the skills and starting up a business. Starting up a business is a mindset that one has to really be in a space that's what they want to do. It's not because I can't find a job, so I'll just go and start off a business. So for me, I really wanted to find out, for such a national program or for a big scale like this, did we do any skills and infrastructure mapping, not just looking at location, inclusion, or gender, but skills in terms of what the market demands so that there'll be an alignment, right? Because initially the speaker touched on the fact that we have a lot of graduates, so ideally they're educated, they have skills, but then we're training more people. So again, what skills are we training them in, and in what area, in what sector? Would they be needed in Kumasi? Would they be needed in Accra? And if they needed Accra, what kind of skills they need? And even are we thinking about people from marginalized backgrounds, women, and all of these other things that goes with it? So I think that if we just want to train people just to tick off boxes and say that we train people, it would then it will kind of do a disservice to this amazing program that the government wants to embark on. So for me, the question that I really want to ask is, did we perform a skills and infrastructure mapping before we put this program together?
Great, and I wanted to come to Osman to answer all this, but Francisca is connected with us, so let me give Francisca a minute to share her own thoughts and concerns about this as a business owner, someone into food and beverage. Someone also food and beverage, they're cool. But I wonder what Francisca thinks about all these programs that have come up so far and how it fits into her bigger business plans. Francisca.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. So first and foremost, I would want to commend government on bringing a lot of initiatives to help small-scale businesses like mine. As a small-scale business with almost 1 year of experience, I would say I'm benefiting from a lot of the initiatives of government. And What's here? Emmeline asked a question, and her challenge is just similar to mine because the cost of data is high. Going to the market to get foodstuffs, everything is so high, and it's not easy for small scale businesses like mine. And so I'm happy about this initiative by government, and I think it's going to help us. And with the skills Mr. Eason was talking about, I think government would help train us the upcoming ones so that we get the skills and yeah, I think it's a good initiative.
Great, and I'll come back around the table. But I wonder, Osman, I wonder how you respond to all of this. A lot of packed questions, real concerns of all these people who have a lot to share, and so that be a little brief about all those, so that we can go for another round and even go for social media commentary.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm sure if I was allowed to complete my presentation, some of the questions would have been answered. There was a question about skills in terms of what the market demands. If you realize in my presentation, I said that we are not just looking at the old kind of apprenticeship programs, but we are looking at contemporary programs. And as part of the stakeholder engagement meetings, we actually put some online surveys for thousands of youth to fill and tell us what they actually expect. We also took people on the field to engage various stakeholders on the ground. We engage various youth, we engage various master craftsmen, we engage chiefs, we engage people. In fact, there were various town hall meetings. In this constituency, we had a town hall meeting. In the next constituency, which is Kole Klote, we had a town hall meeting. So we've had extensive stakeholder engagements to have a fair understanding of what people really expect and what people really want, so far as the training is concerned. And it will surprise you to know that thousands of people that are rushing for the forms to get engaged or to get some training so far as the National Apprenticeship Program is concerned. Now, there's Gifty asked about capitalization and trying to link it to the issue of stipends I spoke about. So, Gifty, the issue of stipends is not someone who has graduated. It's someone who is still in the program and needs to commute between work and home to go and learn. Now, when you are done with the program and you are graduating as an apprentice, government will give you the start-up kits or the start-up tools for you to be able to go out and be on your own. For those who want to be in industry, government will be able to connect them to industry. For those who want to start up or set themselves up, first under the NYA will give you the startup tools for you to be able to go out and start. But if you need some capital injection, then we will now write to the NEIP, which is the Ejumera, for Ejumera to give you that huge startup for you to open. Maybe it's a kiosk or it's a shop where you also can be a master craftsman, and we will bring you another cohort of apprentices for you to train. So give to the issue of capitalization has nothing to do with the stipend. The stipend is just the little money that we give you, so it's like an allowance. We give you the student to go and learn, but when you graduate, we'll now give you we'll put you under the Ejumera project so that you now can be on your own. Now, there was a question about the governance structure and issue of monitoring and how we are monitoring this particular program. Yes, so it's cross-cutting. It's not just, even though it sits with the National Youth Authority to implement it, we are working with the local government authorities, we are working with the districts, municipal, metropolitan assemblies, we are working with Ministry of Trade, we are working with Ministry of Education. Now, Ministry of Education under or through the TVET and CTVET will provide both the technical and curriculum standardization and authentication process. So that is the part of TVET that we're working with. Now, issue of labor has to do with labor protection, whether it's fit for the job market, etc., etc. Issue of trade, because once the person graduates from being an apprentice and becomes a master craftsman or decides to engage in a small scale industry or enterprise, then we are talking about trade also. So the training and its output or its exit strategy is cross-cutting at various ministries or various sectors of government. So there's that comprehensive collaboration. And if you followed from the time of the constitution of the technical committee, we had representatives from all these ministries. We had representatives from Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Youth Empowerment. We had representatives within the technical committee, so that once we are putting the framework together, we have inputs from people from all over. We had people from industry. We even had young people come and contribute to the committee, and the media did a fantastic job in highlighting and also hyping the entire process. I think there was a question by Yao Edu Jemfi, who spoke about the history of most of these programs and the youth development policy. And the youth development policy, or the national youth policy, actually sits with the National Youth Authority. And as part of that policy, which is being implemented, is the fact that we needed a Ministry of Youth Development sitting on its own. So that's part of the inputs in that youth policy that has been implemented by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And in that same youth policy, we spoke about the fact that we needed to build the skills of young people beyond just education. And even as part of that, it actually said that we need to see how we can push many young people into entrepreneurship, even beyond acquiring your formal certificate or your education. So it's been aligned with most of the programs, and we are making sure that we are able to achieve what we need to achieve. Because it's better for you to be trained and not even be employed, but waiting for an opportunity to be employed, than for you not to be trained at all, not to be employed, and not to be educated at the same time. Then your problem is an aggravated problem. So that is very, very important. And my sister Emmeline, yes, she asked about whether we were engaging or leveraging on the local ecosystem development partners and development hubs. Yes, we are engaging with as many that we're able to reach, and those that are willing to engage. Some have written to us, willing to go in some partnership, how they can help in the training, in curriculum development, in marketing skills. One of such organization, I think there's an organization just not too far from your studio. It's called African Skills Development Hub, and other agencies are partnering with us to see how we can develop most of these programs, so that at the end of the day it will be a very successful program. Now, she asked about the educational institutions that are already into some form of apprenticeship and how it's going to work. Now, we have the TVET institutions, CTVET institutions, which are more or less pre-tertiary institutions. Now, the National Apprenticeship Program is looking at the informal sector of apprenticeship. Now, when you go into the four walls of an institution, of a classroom, that becomes the formal apprenticeship training. Now, the informal apprenticeship training is a combination of the formal apprenticeship training and the job market training. So if you have someone sit in a classroom the whole time learning about say carpentry, that is a formal apprenticeship. But if you have someone sitting under the shop of a master, learning it on the job, that is an informal apprenticeship program. So we're looking at how we can also certify the informal apprenticeship programs, so that it can be in tandem or at par with the formal apprenticeship programs. So it's still a collaboration, and it's not a competition between the agencies that are already doing it. So we're looking at how we can put all the informal apprenticeship programs together, or the informal apprenticeship trainers together, see how we can equip them, how we can give them the necessary curriculum, and also give them the necessary certification. So let me just take you through the exits of the National Apprenticeship Program once you're done with the training. In the usual practice, once they are done with the training, they go through the graduation process and they leave you to your fate. But this time around, government is saying that leaving you to your fate may actually be detrimental to you. So it's going to be two ways. Either we find industry for you to go in, and believe you me, some industries have already started writing to us that we need maybe this number of already trained apprentices in this field. We need this number of already trained apprentices in this field. And one of such institutions will meet on Monday to finalize the MOU to see how many apprentices we are actually going to train and hand over to them. Because, when an industry emerges and they need labor and the labor is unskilled, they actually pay to train them. So now we have to train and just hand them over to the to the factories. So you see that we are all in the field of trying to reduce youth unemployment. So some industries have already started reaching out to us to see how we can reduce the youth unemployment, and that we're already working on. So two ways of exit: either we hand you to the industry players who are already looking for some skilled labor, which we have the database, or we help you set you up through the fact that we'll give you your basic tools. And in addition to the basic tools, as one of the panelists said, not everyone has that entrepreneurial mind or has that entrepreneurial training. So if you don't have that entrepreneurial mind or training, we hand over to industry. But if you have that entrepreneurial mind and zeal to be able to push through, we give you the startup tools, then we set you up through the NEIP, the Ujumera, will give you the startup capital to be able to now boost your company or your industry to another level. So you see that there's a whole plan from the beginning to the end, and we are interested in the quality that will be churning out, not just the numbers. And that is why we are starting with just 10,000 to see how we would be able to achieve some great result before we now scale into the original plan, which was supposed to be a minimum of 100,000 trained persons out there. And mind you, me, as you said, it's better for us to train them, because once they have that certification, then as His Excellency has already been talking about, we can now think of labor export, we can think about industry, we can think about how we can feed them into even the various services, because even within the security services, they need some of these skilled labor. They need shoemakers, they need plumbers, they need carpenters, they need all of them. So once we're training them, we're looking at how we can also push them into the various labor fronts.
My own question is, we've seen JIDA, SADA, a lot of some of these youth oriented and how they ended, how they turned out. There are those who would ask, are there safeguards to ensure that this really truly delivers value to the ordinary Ghanaian out there, and that this does not become like some cash cow for some political elite sitting somewhere? What are the internal controls and safeguards to ensure that really, because the idea is brilliant. Look at all the things you've talked about from the start to exit, getting people, setting them up. Very brilliant. But one, how do we properly implement and see this through? Is the zeal there? And what is the safeguard to ensure that this does not really become something that does not benefit the people, but some group of people sitting somewhere?
My national chairman says something all the time, that only a fool doesn't learn from history, that you should be guided by history. And it's good you mentioned some of the programs that some failed, some had to be adjusted. One, the key thing we need to look at is how transparent will the program be. And transparency is one of the key hallmarks so far as this program is concerned. And as part of the transparency, we're going to have a dashboard or an online system for you to know, one, the number of beneficiaries, two, a real-time track of all the beneficiaries up to the time the person even graduates. If the person receives a penny, it should be out there for you to know, not just for Ghana, but also for some development partners out there who would want to actually invest in this program. Because we are not just, in terms of funding, we are not just looking at the government of Ghana's funding allocation, but we're looking at how global investment partners can also buy into the idea of training the African youth in terms of skills acquisition. So one key thing has to do with, one, the transparency of the program, so that you in the studios of Joy FM, you should be able to go onto the NYA website or platform and know that as of today, 10,000 youth or 2,000 youth have been trained, and out of the 2,000 youth, this is their names, but maybe for data protection we can't give you their numbers and all those details, but anytime you want it for purposes of information, we'll be able to provide it to you, and you can have a random audit or a random call or a random monitoring and evaluation to make sure that there's actually value for money in what we're doing. And these are some of the things that will be able to curb corruption, able to curb issues of ghost names, able to curb issues of people training names or people that do not exist. In addition to that, too, there's going to be a proper monitoring and evaluation coming all the way from the ministry to make sure that this is actually put to good use. And as I said, it's a multi-sectoral program, so you have representatives from various ministries also monitoring. And of course, because it's also the president's flagship program, there's also going to be the issue of annual, quarterly, monthly reports to be able to address the entire presidency of what you have done so far and what you're doing. So I can show you with all certainty, without a shred of doubt, I mean, without any form of ambiguity, that this is a program that will work. This is a program that is already working, and we will assure the youth of this country to take advantage of the National Apprenticeship Program, get a skill, get a tool. You have to be trained so that you will be equipped for future opportunities.
Right, let me go around the table again, and if you can do 1 minute, 30 seconds, that would be great. Josiah, I know you're very much interested in the IT aspect of this, but you've listened to Osman. I mean, does it feel you'd hope that, listen, we are onto something?
It's a yes and no question. So I think it feels to me we hope that you have a government that have identified a problem that want to, bring a solution and help solve that problem with youth unemployment and skilling people for what the next generation would be. Because Ghana wants to be the tech hub of Africa, and this is one of them. And the fact that they are looking to also work with other stakeholders and players already, that's a good thing. But my thing is, when I was hearing the submission, I wanted to ask the question, who is going to do this monitoring evaluation? Because you, the government, are now the policymaker. You are also the implementer. You are also literally involved in every stage of this particular program. And you're going to then do the monitoring and evaluation. So this is just me playing the devil's advocate. What is to stop somebody saying that you're going to fill the spaces with just your party members and then give money to your party members just to show that the program is successful? Meanwhile, you train 50,000 people and only 5,000 of your party members got the money, and you're using them as the poster children for the success of the program. Because we've seen this before, and that's why I want to ask this question. So I'm just playing a devil's advocate. My name is Josiah Ace, and don't hold it against me. I'm just playing a devil's advocate. Thank you.
Gifty? Hello, Gifty. Gifty Adoboa.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I want to know what your concluding thoughts are, especially having heard from Osman.
Okay. Thank you very much once again. So in his submission, once again, he made mention of the fact that there are some people who formally end up equipping themselves with skills from the classroom. We can talk about those who go to technical schools, and so that one is formal. But the ones that are not, do not have the opportunity to be in the classrooms, they also come for this one. So at the end of the day, the two becomes parallel. So I'm trying to say that what happens to someone like me who is done with a university, I have a formal classroom knowledge on something. I have a skill, probably on IT something. And I also do have a skill in wig making, in hairstyling, salon skill. So do I still also qualify? Because I have skills from both ends. So at the end of the day, I'm trying to ask that, do I still have the opportunity to come and be enrolled in this program that the government is, putting out there for the youth? Is it really for people who already have the skills, who have classroom knowledge, or it's for those who have zero skills at all? What is it when it comes to this one? I would like to know. Thank you.
Yeah, Fee.
Yeah, just three things quickly. Basically, still on the monitoring, evaluation, and learning, and I think it needs to be encapsulated into sort of a national agenda. So, for instance, the Ministry of Youth Development. It's not just about the NYA dashboard, but the Ministry of Youth Development, not just on the website, but you have a dashboard that collects data across all youth programs and initiatives, offering insights for policy making and for decision making across for the Youth Development Ministry and also across all the agencies that are implementing the programs. So it is important that we place a lot of emphasis on the monitoring, evaluation, and learning, and set the framework for it. Very, very important, the framework and the guide for it. Beyond that, I also want to talk about the seemingly limited integration with the private sector. We know that the Digital Divide Initiative, the MasterCard Foundation, for instance, is providing $25.8 million together backed by the UNDP for the Young Africa Innovates program, and which is trying to also reach out to also artisans, especially in the peri-urban and rural areas.
It appears I've
There are
lost you.
also funding streams
Okay.
that are the private sector towards this program, and it's important that you have a situation where there's integration, so that there's more funding and more and expanded access. Very, very important. And out of these programs, we also experienced in that the digital the rural digital divide is a challenge, and so we need more programs. And of course, we are the Ghana Hubs Network. We are available for that aspect of incubating and accelerating the startups that were managed from the technical from the technical skills that are given these aspiring entrepreneurs and aspiring enterprises, and also making the program inclusive.
Briefly,
so that we have a lot of our members spread across the country, 75%, 75 plus members spread across the 16 regions of Ghana, and so we are available and doing that. I've started engagements with the Ashanti Regional Director of the NYA to start the process of the bottom-up approach as to how we can synergize and work together and ensure that we improve the access, we enhance the implementation of the program, and more importantly, also contribute to the monitoring, evaluation, and learning to ensure that we have value for money. Lastly, there's the issue of also adequate funding. Do we have adequate funding for the numbers that we are trying to reach? For instance, we are trying to reach 10,000 people over a period of time, 100,000 people. How much has been set aside for that? And how much are we going to per head? How much is going per head? If it's by training, if it's by setting them up, how much is going to them? So that we can analyze and know that within the economic environment as we have it at the moment, whether such investments individually will be able to work it out.
I mean, brilliant questions, Awadujemfi. Thank you very much. Let me give the last two words to Emmeline and then Francisca. Emmeline first. I wonder if you also have any advice to the NYA in implementing this to really make sure that this really gets down to the people.
Yes, I would love the NYA to engage, especially non-partisan stakeholders, to allow for objectivity in what they do. I'm really very, very impressed with the way the president has positioned himself. And the only way, because of our political structure, the only way we can get the result that he wants to achieve within his time, his tenure, is if they will really engage stakeholders like, Yao, Josiah, and the rest of them who already are providing similar support. This has been going on for a long time. We have over 110 tech hubs in the country providing, entrepreneurial skills, teaching them how to pitch, how to seek for funding, how to access markets. Because I tell you, when 10,000 people are done with the training and they are home, they will still come back, like we had a NAPCO issue, complaining that they have been trained and they have nothing to do. And I don't think we want to repeat the same thing. So it is wise to have an extensive stakeholder engagement, looking beyond party colors and ensuring that every Ghanaian that is competent enough to play the role of gatekeeper for this project would be engaged, and then would have a very beautiful project achieved. Thank you very much.
Francisca, let me hear from you. You're a business owner. You are doing this. Have you found anything so far within this that you think you may want to join in? And how do you think they must implement this program to ensure that everyone benefits properly?
Yes, please. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again. I'm so happy joining this meeting because I've learned a lot actually. But then I just have two questions, just two. The first one is, how will government ensure sustainability so that businesses supported by these initiatives does not collapse after this initiative? Okay, my question once again. Let me come again. How will the government?
He has it because we are just running out of time. Let's hear your next question. You are talking about sustainability. I just saw him right there.
And also, I'm just thinking that businesses like mine, the food industry, I do juices. Okay, sometimes you start a business. Okay, you go to the market, you buy your pineapples and everything. You follow YouTube, you follow TikTok, all the mentorship classes and all that. I think with this initiative government is bringing on board, we can partner with the private enterprises so that they can groom the young entrepreneurs like myself. So, for example, you go and buy your Ataji nuts, your tiger nuts, you blend, and within a space of maybe just the following day it goes bad. After all the mentorship classes and things you've learned on YouTube, everything goes bad. I'm just saying that if we have business already existing businesses, okay, these CEOs who have made it, we can collaborate with them. They can groom us. We
Yeah.
sit with them because I think most of them in today's businesses are doing so well. They produce their smoothies, they produce their juices, and then can last without preservatives for some time. So what is it that we are doing wrong
As young entrepreneurs? That's very interesting question that you've all asked. Very interesting. Osman, in 2-3 minutes, if you, I know it's not a lot of time, but if you can box it, three minutes, yeah, because
Wait on most of the questions, give answers to, but I'll just try and touch on it. Now, one, who has the opportunity to be enrolled? I think a lady asked about those who are already in school or those who have graduated from school or already have a skill, whether they'll be enrolled. I think for the reason of giving people equal opportunities, if there's enough space to enroll everyone who wants to be enrolled, it's good that every Ghanaian has a skill in addition to whatever education that you have. But between someone who already has a degree and someone who doesn't have a degree, a skill or training, if I have both applications before me, I just believe that it is fair that we give an opportunity first to the person who doesn't have an education, an employment, a training or a skill, before we come to the person who already has maybe a degree and just wants an additional or an added skill to it. So we would have wished to train every Ghanaian who wants to be trained, but for now we think that we will have to enroll those who are not in any form of education, any form of employment, any form of training or skill. There was a question about it not being, we shouldn't let it be partisan, we should engage stakeholders. I want to believe that issues of security, issues of employment, because once you have a burgeoning youth unemployment, it now tends to be an issue of national security. So issues of security, I think, is non-partisan. If I'm at home and they rob me and I'm NDC, I'll be robbed. If you're NPP and you're robbed, you'll be robbed. So I don't think issues of we providing training to Ghanaians should be partisan. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has led the way for us to understand that we need to act as leaders of society. At this juncture, we are done with campaign and we are building the Ghana. We are resetting the Ghana that we all want, and that Ghana includes NDC, MPP, GCPP, and my brother's party APC. So yes, so we are resetting for for everyone. Yes, Francisca spoke about sustainability. How do we seek to sustain it? For now, His Excellency has shown extreme good faith by giving a budgetary allocation of 300 million Ghana cedis. Now, beyond that, His Excellency is committed to making sure that there's that dedicated funding to make sure that the program continues. Just as today you have some dedicated funding from Get Fund into education for infrastructure and even the free SHS, there's going to be that youth fund or that dedicated funding to make sure that these programs are continued and they do not hit a stack somewhere. So His Excellency is committed to that. Just that for this year, what we have is a budgetary allocation from Ministry of Finance. So as the years go by, once we continue to implement and it expands, there will be that dedicated funding to it. And there was a question about who will monitor and evaluate. In every program that you do, even in our various offices, we usually require our own self-monitoring and evaluation. But for a program like this, which is public in nature, beyond our internal monitoring and evaluation, I believe that if there's any agency that wants to come and monitor to do a report, we will always be open to that. We'll always be open to any agency or independent auditors who may want to come and do some monitoring and evaluation to put out a report about the success or failure of the program. We are open to that. So I believe the time is not permitting. Yes.
And you've indeed dealt with a number of the questions that have been asked. Thank you very much, Emma Lindate, a business consultant and career coach, Josiah Ayisen, co-founder iSpace Foundation, Gifty Adoboa, an entrepreneur. She's into human wakes. Well, if I was a woman, I would definitely come and get one, but we'll see about that. Yawedu Jemfi, chairman of Ghana Hubs Network.
which the men are getting bald. We need
We
need to do something about it.
Producing this. His hairline is almost at the back of his head. And then Yawedu Jemfi, chairman of the Ghana Herbs Network. Thank you also for coming on. And Francisca Ofoyu Arthur, also into food and beverages. My name is Kwaku Asante. In studio, we've had Osman Arega, CEO of the National Youth Authority, answering all your questions. Definitely, I'm sure we'll have a look at this again, perhaps bring him back, and then have a lot of your questions answered. This has been Ghana Connect. My name is Kwaku Asante. We'll see you again same time next week. The library is up next with Andy Dosti. And as always, tomorrow, Saturday, you don't have to miss Newsfile because a lot is happening on Newsfile having to do with the recall CJ and cry over a new Supreme Court appointment. Halt, thank you, tour, and the Constitutional Review Committee so far. Professor Kwesi Prempeh will be on, together with members of the Constitutional Review Committee. Ejapa Mesa will be on, Dr. Tio Achampon, and then Sami Jemfi. They are the panel for tomorrow's news file. I'll see you again same time next week. Have a great evening.
Sorry, Aliachi.